46. We seek by peaceful means to do all in our power to extinguish tyranny wherever we see it. Okay, there's all kinds of tyrannies around the world, but oftentimes we think, or our government seems to think, well, you know, we got to just work with these guys. Now, we can't go one extreme or the other, and the trouble with people, and especially governments, is they tend to be one extreme or the other. In other words, there's some people saying, well, there's this bad guy over there and we just got to go nuke him. And, well, that's extreme we don't want to really pursue, because that could lead to killing off the world as we know it and extinguishing civilization. So we don't want to go that route. But on the other hand, we just don't want to do nothing. There are a lot of things we can do without threatening the peace of the world to alter these tyrannies. And Reagan was a good example of working with Gorbachev when he got up and he says, Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Now, he didn't nuke him. He didn't threaten Gorbachev with war. He just used the right words to let them know that this is something that we do not accept. And it had a great influence. And this is what we have to do with the tyrannies around the world today. We have to let them know that we do not accept the tyrannies. And by letting them know for sure, with strong clarification that they're not accepted, it gathers force. And when an idea, a thought is communicated to the world, it gathers like thinkers to it and accumulates power to change. So we must always put out the idea that tyranny is not accepted. 47. We desire maximum freedom for the individual and the country as a whole. Now let me talk a little bit about maximum freedom. Everybody talks about freedom. Even tyrants talk about freedom. Almost every other speech Hitler gave, he talked about freedom. I'm going to bring freedom to the German people. Well, let's suppose Hitler would have won the war. Well, there'd have been a handful of Nazis that would be pretty much free to do whatever they wanted, as long as they had Hitler's approval. And these guys would have thought that they had a lot of freedom. But how about everybody else? Everybody else would have been enslaved. So that was not maximum freedom. And again, we were talking about the South. In the South, they were fighting to be able to maintain slaves. That was very important for them to maintain the slavery as is. And they were doing it in the name of freedom. But it wasn't maximum freedom. It was pockets of freedom. We don't want pockets of freedom here and there at the expense of a lot of other people, but we want to have maximum freedom. For instance, there are certain freedoms that we don't have, which is important that we don't have. I do not have the freedom to enter your home and burglarize it and like take your TV set or your computer. I do not have that freedom. So by restricting my freedom to burglarize your home, we're creating greater freedom for the whole. So by preventing my freedom in that area creates maximum freedom for the whole. So maximum freedom is more important than pockets of freedom. If we give freedom to burglars to steal from us, we're giving a small pocket of freedom that benefits a handful of individuals at the expense of the many. True freedom is where whatever is implemented increases freedom for the group as a whole. And so we want the freedom to maintain security and peace within our homes without being infringed or broken into or feel that we or our children are in any danger. This is the freedom of the whole. This is the freedom that is part of the principle of maximum freedom. And this is what we have to seek, is maximum freedom, not freedom for just a handful of elite people or select people. 48. It is the right of parents, not the government, to decide if the child should be circumcised. This is kind of a weird one, but there are a lot of people that want to make it a law that a child should be circumcised, and this is certainly something that should be up to the parents to decide, because there's arguments for and against it. So it's kind of an oddball one, but it's something that's just an important point that that is incorporated into maximum freedom. 49. It is the right of the parents to decide how to discipline their own children. This does not sanction child abuse, which is punishable by law. Abuse of children by parents or other adults or other children should not be condoned or tolerated. So people have a lot of different ideas on this, and one of the problems we have in our society is there's always pockets of people that say, well, this is the right thing to do, therefore because it's right, I need to force you to do it. Well, the trouble is sometimes people's opinion as to what is the right thing to do is not supported by the majority, and should not, their will should not be enforced upon other people. I think the majority of the people, the vast majority, are against child abuse of any kind and support laws that prevent child abuse. But then we come down to the gray areas of disciplining kids. This must be left to the free will of the parents, and the majority pretty much behind this to a large degree, that parents should have a certain amount of discretion in disciplining their children as long as they're not abused. But we can't have like a powerful, politically correct segment of society dictating how our children are to be disciplined. '50. It's the right of the parents to decide if their child is going to be vaccinated. Now, there's a lot of people that say, well, you know, there's just a bunch of hocus pocus to believe that vaccination can cause any harm at all. Now, I've studied both sides of the issues, and there's a lot of things I read about vaccination that makes me pretty nervous, and I personally wouldn't have vaccination unless I thought it was, pretty important because of everything that I've studied about it. And most of the people that think there's nothing to be concerned about at all have not really even studied the issue. They've merely heard their authorities decree there's nothing to worry about with any of these vaccinations. They're all just fine. Well, when a person studies about something and learns that there are certain statistics that indicate there could be a problem in a certain area, they should have the right to decide whether or not their concern can turn into a decision as to whether yes or no in accepting a vaccination or any other medical procedure as far as that goes. So it's scary to think that the government could have power to just declare to us this vaccination, this vaccination, this vaccination is all mandatory. Sooner or later, even if we believe in the purity of the vaccinations as is, sooner or later it's entirely possible they could come up with a real bad vaccination of some kind that could have very detrimental effects. It can't be guaranteed every vaccination that's ever going to be produced is going to be a good one. And people should have the discretion to be able to reject it if they are concerned about it, even if they're wrong. Now the next section is on health. Thesis number 51. Both health care and health insurance should be a tax write-off for everyone, not just big businesses. This is one thing I struggled with when I was in business for myself. I had to buy my own health insurance, and it wasn't tax deductible. Yet a lot of my friends that worked for a big business had health insurance, and they didn't have to pay any taxes on the benefits they got from all their medical. So then that should be fair. Now with the new health insurance plans with the 2,000 words, I'm not sure where the tax situation is going in that. 52, and this should pretty much wrap it up for the day. We must incorporate tort reform so doctors do not run expensive, unnecessary tests due to fear of being sued. Damages beyond expenses must be limited to $250,000. That's in 2010 dollars. There's a tremendous number of expenses in our medical system because of testing. Now, critics say that, well, they're just a small, the amount of the overall medical expenses isn't that great due to malpractice insurance. But what creates a lot of the problem isn't so much the cost of malpractice, but it's the fear of malpractice causes doctors to test for almost everything. You go to a doctor these days and they will test you out the yin-yang, not because they're so concerned you might have something wrong with you, but because they're concerned that they may be sued. And so to prevent lawsuits, they run a tremendous number of tests that cost and waste many billions of dollars that would not be an expense if there wasn't this tremendous fear of being sued. Therefore, it's important that we alleviate this fear in doctors, that they don't have this tremendous anxiety about being sued, so they have to run every possible test. Okay, we're up to number 52, and next week we will continue with part 4 of the 95 Thesis. Thank you for your time.